Cuando rey Nimrod al campo salía, giraba en el cielo y en la estrella, vida luz santa en la judería, que había de nacer Abraham Avinu. Abraham Avinu, Padre querido, Padre bendito, luz de Israel. Abraham Avinu, Padre querido, Padre bendito, luz de Israel.
We're gathered here to celebrate the renovation of one of the historic Jewish buildings in the old city of Jerusalem. This building is known as the building of the family of Mizrahi. About 400 years ago, one of the great rabbis, 600 was the beginning of the family.
We are the 14th generation.
14th generation. And then Rabbi Baruch Mizrahi came to Jerusalem.
Baruch Mizrahi died about 400 years ago, confident that when the dead arise, with the coming of the Messiah, he would have his own home to return to.
Baruch Mizrahi, you can come back now. Baruch Mizrahi, you can come back now.
My name is Kedem. I immigrated to Israel from England in 1960, and I have worked here in Jerusalem as an engineer, specializing in the restoration of old houses. In 1971, I settled in the Jewish quarter of Old Jerusalem, where I restored a house for my family. The old city, 4,000 meters of walls. The city has 4 quarters: Christian, Armenian, Muslim, Jewish. More than 100 different communities live side by side. 2,000 Jews, religious and secular. Three 3,000 Christians. Among them, the Ethiopians, who live and pray above the place most holy to them, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. (1,500) Armenians. Forbidden centuries ago to use bells as a call to prayer, they found their own unique expression. (16,000) Muslims who mix business with hospitality, their greatest pleasure. Different traditions meet every day as neighbors within the walls. The house of Baruch Mizrahi is next door to mine. Here in Jerusalem, one lives on 2 levels. The first is somewhere in the city's 3,000-year history. The second is here and now, amid the bustle of the rebuilding of the Jewish quarter.
Oh, around the corner. And then here we have the Mizrahi home itself, which of course was destroyed and rebuilt now. But that's the home that we were talking about right away.
One day, a Hasid arrived at my house. He was conducting a survey of the former synagogues of the Jewish quarter. and I discovered that the second story of my own house had once served as a synagogue.
My name is Label Marshall. I come from Mea Sharim. We're doing a study of all the Bati Midrashim, the synagogues in this area. And in fact, this base medrash, this synagogue on the second level, was the synagogue of my base medrash, the Kollel Shomrei Chamos Yerushalayim, in Mea Sharim. Some you don't know, but nobody, people around here don't know about it. However, this happened to have been the base medrash of the Kollel Shomrei Chamos Yerushalayim.
New buildings are not constructed here until archaeologists survey and excavate the sites, as every stone is steeped in history. Yet, thank God, life here has its own momentum. People choose to live here, and, understandably enough, they have other things on their minds besides the past. I decided to set off on a journey of discovery, a search for the history of my house, which took me through the marketplace. A neighbor directed me to the kollel.
Of the complete Jewish quarter of the old city. And to this end, the Israeli government took over a state land property, all of such institutions, which included our kollel.
A kollel is a special kind of community. All Jews are supposed to be occupied with the study of the Torah, the Holy Law, but members of the kollel actually practice it.
Originally, the building came into the possession of our kollel through a venerable rabbi by the name of Rabbi Michael Reutman. He was a Hungarian Jew that came to live in Yerushalayim.
Later on, the kollel leased the house to an Armenian family who lived there from the time of World War I until very recently.
He was an old man. It wasn't that much longer that he passed away.
The search led me into the Armenian quarter, seeking the family that had rented my house. Armenians first came to Jerusalem in the 4th century. Each night, the gates are locked at 9 o'clock. I didn't find the Armenian family, but I did find some people who knew them.
1921. 1921. Their father was a shoe shining shop in this building, which they, this Hotel Fast, they used to call it, which they took it away.
The Armenian family had left for Canada, and my search had reached a dead end. On my way home, I passed the new building of the Porat Yosef Rabbinical College. The original college was built here in 1910. Recently, when archaeologists found the remains of a first-century mansion on the site, plans for the new building were revised. This cement column was carefully placed here to prevent any damage to the rare finds below. When the residential building above is completed, these ancient structures will form a permanent exhibit, open to the public. Just one example of one of the most complex urban renewal projects in the world. My neighbor, Moshe Safti, who designed Porat Yosef, deals with the old and the new in this way.
The problem is not simply a physical design one. It's not just a matter of whether we use the stone of the same color or whether we use forms which relate to the forms of the old construction. It's also a question of the continuity of life. Is there continuity in our values, in our institutions, and the way we live today and 100 years ago? And that's the fundamental issue of building in Jerusalem.
Then one day, in an antique bookshop, I found a copy of a book published by Michael Reutmann in 1904 entitled The Fruits of the Earth. Was that the same Reutmann who was the owner of my house? The Fruits of the Earth is a 3-volume commentary on religious law, written by Israel Mizrahi in 1755. Only 2 volumes were published in that year in Salonika. The 3rd volume was published by Reutmann 150 years later. Opening this volume, I found a copy of Baruch Mizrahi's will, his final testament. Stonemasons have been working here with the same tools and techniques for hundreds of years. The mason leaves this testament in the form of a trademark, just as he did in the time of the Crusaders. The meaning of the will kept eluding me, so I turned to my friend Yaakov Goldman, historian of the Old City.
They don't have the right to the property of their ancestors, which seems to be unquestionably throughout the generations to be...
400 years ago, a Turkish rabbi came to Jerusalem. His name was Rabbi Baruch Mizrahi. He was the great-grandson of the great, famous Rabbi Eliyahu Mizrahi, who had been chief rabbi of Constantinople. He came to live in Jerusalem, and he bought a home, and he made a will, which is most interesting. We know that a lot of people want to provide for any contingency that might arise in their lifetime. But he was worried about a contingency that might arise after his resurrection, that is, in the days of the Messiah.
God has seen fit to bestow upon me, Baruch Mizrahi, a home within Jerusalem. In accordance with the customs of my forefathers, I bequeath this house from the center of the earth to the heights of the heavens, all my copper utensils and books of study to my only son, but on one condition, that neither he nor his sons nor the sons of their sons to the last descendant, none shall dare to either sell or lease or mortgage this house, or draw up contracts relinquishing their rights, not even to their wives or daughters. If, God forbid, there be no male descendants, the house shall become a trust for those who pursue the learning of the Torah. Should one of my descendants, even my son, disobey one iota of this will, he shall be excommunicated from the tribe of Israel forever by the strength of the Torah. This I have done, so that I shall have a home to return to in Jerusalem when I am resurrected upon the coming of the Messiah. The will is about the house next door to mine. Nothing of Baruch Mizrahi's home remains. Reutmann built a balcony which infringed on the aerial territorial rights of the Mizrahi property. The Mizrahi family, fearing the heavenly retribution threatened in the will, turned to a rabbinical court. In the wisdom of the judges, an elegant solution was found. As compensation, Reutemann would publish the third volume of Mizrahi's The Fruits of the Earth, written 150 years earlier. In this way, the Torah would be perpetuated and Baruch Mizrahi could rest in peace and await the coming of the Messiah. The Mizrahi family continued to live on site next door until 1948. A new house stands there now. No Mizrahis live in it. My children decided we should try to find the Mizrahi descendants. They live in the new city.
This is a book which was published as a result of the dispute between the two neighbors, Reutemann and Eliezer Mizrahi. And as a result of that dispute, there was a book which was published and printed in Israel, in Palestine at the time, and this is it.
On the Mount of Olives, he searches for gravestones of past Mizrahis, attempting to fill in the blanks of his family tree.
Which belongs to the family Mizrahi. It is signed by Yatzair Michael ben Shmuel Mizrahi.
Even 400 years ago, it was the future that brought Baruch Mizrahi to Jerusalem. His vision was of the days of the Messiah. I decided somehow to realize his vision, to assure a future home for Baruch Mizrahi. I set off again, this time to convince the authorities to construct a symbolic home for him. It wasn't easy. I had to be patient, even though the Messiah might come at any moment. Then my son joined the cause. He prepared a petition which proclaimed that Baruch Mizrahi should have a house to return to. He and his friends scoured the city. Once they started, there was no stopping them. wasn't an easy task. Officials had to be persuaded.
א', אתה צריך לקבל את האישור של האדריכל שתכנן את הבית.
Something out of the guidebook which refers directly, I think, almost to here. And the streets of the city shall be full of boys and girls playing in the streets thereof. Straight out of Zechariah chapter 8. And here we have it. Here we have it in this square, because this is something which was destroyed, completely destroyed several times. And once again, we hear children.
Well, obviously when Baruch Mizrahi will return, so will his relatives of many generations. And so first we should anticipate a major problem of high density in the Jewish quarter. From the little I know of his will, I think that some form of a gesture of a place for him to return to would be appreciated by him.
While I was dealing with the bureaucracy, the children turned to a higher authority. The Western Wall, last remnant of the temple, the place to convey one's hopes to the Almighty. A request scribbled on a piece of paper placed in a crack of the wall goes straight to heaven. And then, the moment of truth. We present the case to the man who carries the problems of this complex city on his shoulders. Teddy Kolik, Mayor of Jerusalem.
Atzuma? A petition? Well, we in the municipality will certainly do whatever we can so that Baruch Mizrahi, when he comes back at the time when the Messiah will come, should have somewhere to return to according to his last will. And when the Messiah will come together with Baruch Mizrahi, at least there will be somebody to take care of all the problems of Jerusalem.
With the mayor's consent, it didn't take long to complete the mission. To the great joy of the Mizrahi descendants who gathered for the occasion, the house of Baruch Mizrahi was built. This is the cemetery on the Mount of Olives. From here, across the Kidron Valley, through the Gate of Mercy, which is now blocked up, the Messiah, son of David, will pass. As it is written in the Talmud, Elijah the prophet will go before him, blowing on a trumpet. At the first sound, the primal light which shone before the week of creation will reappear. At the second sound, the dead will arise, and with the swiftness of wind assemble around the Messiah from all the corners of the earth. And then the wolf will live in peace with the lamb. Baruch Mizrahi will dwell in his house, and the whole of Jerusalem shall rejoice.
Avram Avinu, Padre querido, Padre bendito, luz de Israel. La mujer de Terach quedó preñada, de día en día él le preguntaba, ¿de qué tenés la cara tan demodada? Ella ya sabía el bien que tenía. Avram Avinu, Padre querido, Padre bendito, luz de Israel. Avram Avinu, Padre querido, Padre bendito, luz de Israel.